It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's our go. Hey, it's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Breaking Bread with Tom Papa. I am Tom Papa, and I'm here with my pal.
Why did your voice go up so much?
I don't know. It just felt like...
Felt appropriate?
It felt like, oh, we're doing, this is a sweet opening.
Aw.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Kira Sultanovich.
There we go.
There we go. I was kind of lobbing it in for you to say
Oh,
Kira.
you want me to say my name?
Well,
I don't know how to pronounce all that.
yeah, no, that was good. I think they know.
You did it.
Yeah, I think they know from your attitude that it's you. We've got a great show today. We have a guest coming in, Alisha Wainwright. Very talented actor, a very talented podcast host. Mm-hmm. When Science Finds a Way is her new podcast. Very good. She's very smart. Loves to bake.
Loves to botany.
And just a delightful person, and we're very excited. She'll be coming on the show in a little bit. Oh, you want to know who our sponsor is today?
I would love to.
Oh, okay. This is going to be very exciting, and you're going to be like, oh, now I get it. Now I know why you're a little more attractive than you were last time we did this. That's what you're saying to me. We'd like to thank the good people at CalderaLab.com.
Ooh.
Caldera Lab. They are clinically proven to reduce wrinkles, fine lines, and signs of aging. Caldera Lab is the leader in men's skincare and is here to save the day. Look at my skin.
It looks amazing.
Thank you. That's because the people at Caldera sent me their stuff.
I have
used
a
little
mustache, so
moisturizer.
if I used it right there on my manly spot,
Yeah, I guess.
could I use it?
Probably.
Okay.
Get 20% off with our code PAPA at Caldera Lab. That's CALDERA Lab, CalderaLab.com. That's 20% off at CalderaLab.com by using the code PAPA. Jump into skin and first impression royalty with Caldera Lab. Go to the link in the description, CalderaLab.com/PAPA for more. I really do like their products, and they have this eye serum. We'll talk about it later. How do my eyes look?
I love a good serum. Your eyes look
I know.
great. You're
Thank
very
you.
youthful.
Thank you.
You know, you're glowing.
Mm-hmm. They don't do anything for growing hair,
Oh.
but the rest is okay.
Biotin?
Did you see my post yesterday about on Instagram of me because Paul Rubin died, the Pee Wee Herman?
You were quite a biscuit. I would dip you in a cup of tea.
You saw it.
Wow. I can now a lot of things make sense.
Uh-huh.
Now that I see what you looked like in your youth,
Yeah,
I get it.
you do.
I get it.
Well, because I don't know how to take that because
yeah, no, take it the bad way.
because a lot of the comments were, wow, you were handsome when you were young.
You're still handsome.
They were like, "Lee, time has really done a number on you."
No, you're fine. My point
That's what you wanna hear.
My point is, in that picture,
Yeah.
a lot of things kind of plinko into place.
Like what?
Well, like you were a kid who got some action.
Yeah.
This is before Caldera took over, and you look, as handsome as you do.
Caldera's going to save me for the rest of my
but
way.
but I get it now.
Mm-hmm.
You've watched enough 80s teen movies. I know who you were. I know who you'd be cast as.
Was I the mean guy?
No, but you're the guy who also tries to flirt with the hot lead.
Right.
And she's like, I'm going for the sensitive guy who cleans pools. But you would also, you'd be the sidekick to the football player that was a little bit of a dick.
Right.
But not as mean as the main douche.
No.
But, a close second because you're good looking. You got that jawline. It's all about the jawline. It was chiseled. It's still
Yeah.
chiseled, as a matter of fact. But it was like
If I get
weapon.
fat now, it loses the chisel because it goes right to my face. Face first,
yeah,
then love
everybody.
handles.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I get it. I saw that picture. I was like, oh, it all makes sense. Every question I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
All of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was dating since about 5th grade.
For sure. Are you kidding me? That
Yeah.
profile?
I don't think it was that I was overly handsome. I thought I was just not an ass, and I was funny. I was charming.
Those help,
You know.
but also chiseled.
But that was me as Pee-wee. I was trying to be Pee-wee
I get you. Yeah, I saw the red bow tie.
in that little suit.
Yeah. That was good. You did it.
Yeah, not too bad. But yeah, the number of comments of whoa. Back then you looked great.
Well, I
I mean,
posted.
that's youth, but
It's
still.
youth. It's youth. And also it's pixel, those bad photo quality.
It wasn't really.
It makes everyone look a little bit, it's like putting Vaseline on a
What did
camera
you
lens.
look like in high school?
Well, I did post a picture.
You did?
A while ago when I thought I was fat.
when
in
you
high
thought you were
school.
fat.
I'm in a bikini in
Uh-huh.
Hawaii on vacation, and in that moment when my
Yeah.
dad was taking the picture, I was like, "Oh God," because I was 16 or 17,
Yeah.
and I was just like, "Oh God, this is like the worst day of my life."
I'm gigantic.
Meanwhile,
Weighed 80 pounds.
I mean, I wish I was that fat after 2 kids.
Right.
I wish, but
Yeah.
it's youth. We have a
Youth
great
is the
metabolism
thing.
on our
I
side.
know. It is amazing the stuff I could eat back then. Oh. Because then when I think about I'm really been trying to get credit off of my 210-week streak on the Peloton. I tell everybody I see, that's 4 years of constant, at least once a week on the Peloton.
It's impressive.
Which is impressive, and you'd be like, well, then I should be as skinny as that guy in that Pee Wee Herman shot. But the reality is the workouts that I'm doing now were warm-ups for what I was doing as a young athlete. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and then it'd be hours of like really, really intense. But when you're a grown-up, you're like, how much do I want to push myself?
Well, and also you're just breaking even now.
Yeah, you're maintaining.
You're just breaking even. So
Yeah.
we used to live in an area near college. I went to SDSU where people would just walk around with one of those big, huge oven bags with these personal sized pizzas and just walk around looking for drunk kids who want a snack.
Oh, really?
Such a genius business plan.
They would just sell pizzas?
They just walking around because there's frat row, there's parties, there's
Right,
dorms.
right.
People are just, coming home from a bar drunk,
Yeah.
whatever. And they're just walking around and they would sell out within 13 seconds.
Right.
And we used to just eat 4 or 5 pizzas. Just sit there and just eat a pizza and then go to bed at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to burn that off, yeah, you would do like whatever, a light little workout. But now if I eat one slice,
I know.
I have to work out 5 times harder to break even.
It ruins your whole week.
Yeah.
I went to a Dodger game last night, and it was with some friends, Fortune,
Yeah.
and the people from the radio show. And we've been talking it up for like a year, how much we're going to eat when we're there, and we're going to be eating hot dogs. So when we got there, we really just turned it on. And I had like 4 hot dogs, nachos. And in the middle of it, I was like, this is going to ruin my month. I've been trying to get in shape for my doctor.
Yeah.
And this is going to set me back. Like it's 100 degrees here now in LA. I'm like, I have to go on a run in the middle of the heat. There's the only way I'm going to burn these hot dogs off.
4?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. I mean, Dodger dogs are pretty good.
they are good.
They are good.
They are good.
But
yeah, it was a
that's
lot.
aggressive.
It was aggressive.
you had a birthday.
It came out quick.
What do you mean?
I tried to get a bunch in before I knew what was happening.
Okay, I got you. You had a birthday show.
I did.
It was myself, Fortune,
yeah.
Aaron Foley.
Right.
And that was a glutton of food. And
We
it
were
was
at Vito's
so
Pizza.
delicious.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing.
Yeah.
And it was before I wasn't doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But wow, that was like
I know.
that. I felt that the next day.
I feel like those celebrations are like the most delightful moments of my current life.
Yes.
It's not about getting drunk. It's not about getting high. It's like when there's something to celebrate, it's food. It's food.
There's a memory inside of our like tissues, like in our muscles of food. Russian parties. If you go to a Russian event and the plates are not stacked like this, people think it's a disaster. People will talk about you the next day. How was so-and-so's whatever 50th wedding anniversary or whatever it is? And they're like, oh, the food was there wasn't enough food. There was plenty of food.
Right.
But in your mind, and you have Russian goggles, it's not like stacked and smushed and like a plate on top of a plate. And then people just keep bringing, just different, because that's what they're all about.
It's about beating you into submission with food. And it probably comes because that tradition started at a time when there wasn't a lot of excess.
That's right.
So the celebration was, we are okay. We are alive. Look at all of this. And now we're kind of on the other side where we have too much in everyday life.
It's too much.
A celebration should be, we're just going to fast.
That's right.
We eat we're
all doing intermittent fasting
the height
now.
of Rome all day long.
Right.
For our birthday, let's just sit.
I mean, we're all just getting a sandwich with the crust cut off, and you'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
My kids, sometimes I'll pack a lunch for them, and I'm acting as if they're going out with Bear Grylls, like, well, what if there's no water or food for miles? No, I'm picking them up in 3 hours.
I know.
And I pack this lunch of like, I got to make sure. I give them 2 sandwiches.
Right.
I give them double sandwiches.
That was an old bit of mine when I was. It drove me crazy that you had to have food service on a commuter flight that's an hour long. Why are you bringing the cart out? Why are you putting snacks out? We can make it. We can make it from Sacramento to LA.
So I think legally they have to serve you a drink. Because there's some sort of medical reason.
Is there really?
Yes. I think airlines,
interesting.
You have to make sure that people are hydrated if they need it. And so that's why they apologize so much if it is an hour flight with turbulence.
Yeah.
And they're like, sorry, we can't bring the drink cart out. Like, it's like a medical issue at that point.
Oh, I thought it was a disgusting American issue.
Well, the food part.
Like, we've got to have something. We can't not chew for 20 minutes.
You can not chew.
Right?
Yeah.
4 hot dogs is a lot.
It's a lot.
It was, but it was delightful.
I'm sure. They're big, though. That's the thing. I'm not judging the 4 part.
Yeah.
Dodger dogs are like 3 hot dogs.
Can I make it a little worse with some honesty?
I love honesty.
One of them was a sausage sandwich, which was double the size of the hot dogs.
Oh, my God.
So good.
Okay, some movie theaters have delicious food. Have you been to the new one in Westwood?
No.
They have waiters and waitresses come out to you.
Oh, really?
And the food is incredible.
What, like what?
Like those big sausage sandwiches. They're so good.
Doesn't it smell up the theater?
It really does. It's really a terrible idea, but also, how can you not? The feet go up, you're lying down. Some UCLA college kid is like, can I help you? They're going through puberty right in front of your eyes. And I'm just like, I would love another sausage sandwich.
You know what movie was so prescient about our future and actually our current state was WALL-E?
Yes.
Which starring the great Jeff Garlin. It was what happens to people. Like they would just be in those little baby toddler things and just lying back and being fed and their ankle, they couldn't stand any longer.
And the commercials were always like, now it's cool to be red. And then they would do red stuff. And
God, we really did turn into a mess. I went to see Oppenheimer the other night.
Oh, my husband wants to take me to that. And I said, no, thank you.
Why?
Because I have a bladder. I'm a human being and I will have to get up and miss the movie for 3 hours.
There's a new app my friend told me about that tells you exactly at what point to go to the bathroom during movies.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe I'll go see it.
Just don't drink a lot that day.
Oh, great.
And so what? You miss a minute of a 3-hour shebang.
But it's always when I get up to pee.
That's
I come
something-
back, I go, what did I miss? Mike goes, everything. Everything happened while you went up to pee.
So you're not, it's really a pee issue. It's not a nuclear Armageddon issue.
No, it's that too. I mean, you tell me,
Yeah.
what's your review? Because,
It was good.
okay,
Great performances.
I'm sure.
Nolan is an amazing filmmaker.
Can't even debate that.
Yeah. It's a pretty disturbing. He does a good job of telling the story of we made this discovery. It was going this way around the world. How are people going to turn this splitting the atom into a bomb, and why that momentum took over, and now we're in this scary world where we could annihilate everything at any moment. He did a really great job with that. In interest of you being able to pee, I could have cut 30 out of that,
Yeah, I would think.
45.
Ooh,
You know what I mean? Like once the bomb goes off, then
credits.
Yeah, credits. Exactly. Go to your cars, kids, and put a little tag up that says Oppenheimer had to deal with some shit
Yeah,
afterwards
yeah.
from the government.
Put some stuff
Yeah.
to read and then.
Yeah. Did you see it, Joey?
Yep.
You saw the Oppenheimers?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have a mic.
No.
Out of 4 stars, what did you give it?
I'd give it 3.
3?
Yeah, but Nolan's like capable of giving me 4s all the time, you know.
No, yeah.
So it's harder to.
How many stars you give it?
Yeah, I would give it 3.
3. All right. Well,
Yeah, it's a great piece of work, but then there's, I could have shortened it up.
so here's the
For
thing.
sure.
If we go at night, I will fall asleep.
Yeah,
If we go during the day, we gotta, find something to do with these kids.
right. I
know?
know, I know. It did feel pretty decadent that I was going to a movie at 8:30 without regard of like having to pick anyone up from karate class.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You have a lot of
I
years
will fall
before that.
asleep 100%.
A young person that we went with was snoring
Love it.
through the explosion of the nuclear bomb
Wow.
to the end of the movie.
Wow.
Just,
Oh my God.
yeah. I still want to see Barbie.
Yeah.
Mark Maron on Instagram called it a masterpiece last night. A masterpiece. And he's like, who's more curmudgeon-y than Mark?
Yeah. He's the ultimate.
Yeah. But he said it was a masterpiece.
How
Did you see
so?
that, Joey? Did you see Barbie?
Oh yeah, I Barbenheimer.
You Barbenheimer? Did you
What?
like Barbie as much as Oppenheimer?
Probably more.
More. So you're giving Barb's the 4 stars or 3.5 stars over the Oppenheimer 3?
Yeah, 3.5.
Whoa.
Wow.
See? Yeah.
What is Barbieheimer? Is it when you see like,
Barbie and Oppenheimer in the same day.
whoa,
Because the
who
great
are these people?
the great thing is that they're the childless.
Yeah.
They made going to the movies very exciting, and it kind of like revived. Tom Cruise Tom Cruise saved film last year with Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a big event, and it was the first time people were going back to the theater. And then he pulled when his movie, he did a little PR shout out to the other movies that are coming out this summer, Oppenheimer and Barbie, and good luck. And then, come see Mission Impossible 2. And it was like, oh, he's not really celebrating the movies. He's just talking about his movie on the heel of these
Well,
other
so
movies.
they're coming out a year later.
Yeah.
Who's like, hey, go see this in a year. What? I was thinking about that.
No. He did it this year
Oh, he
because
did
of
it
his
this year.
because Mission Impossible was coming out.
Oh,
Right.
I'm sorry. In
it
my
sounded
head,
like, oh wow, he just loves the movies,
Okay,
and then
yeah.
he tagged it with and Mission Impossible.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
Which I hear is good. Did you see that, Joey?
I have it.
Look-
Same with Kira. It's kind of flying under the radar.
Yeah,
a bit.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, it didn't work.
I thought you were going to say I saw Tom Cruise on The Tonight Show with Fallon
Oh.
doing the most cringe lip syncing.
Uh-huh.
I wish we could bring it up,
Oh.
but I think it's The Weekend. I think he's lip syncing The Weekend.
Oh.
I can't
This was a
feel
while
my face
ago.
when I'm with you. No, this was just 2 days ago.
No, they're not on the air, are they? Are
Well,
they on
they're
strike?
posting
Posting
Instagram
old stuff.
Yeah, maybe they're
Right.
posting old stuff.
Right. It must be old stuff.
But whew,
Yeah.
it was, and Fallon loves it. He's sitting there in the background whenever his guests are lip syncing, and he's just dying laughing, and he's like cracking up, and he's just high fiving himself. It's so cute to watch. It's like, dude, if you don't understand, karaoke's been around for many decades. He's just like, we just invented this today, guys. Karaoke.
That's the Fallon switch.
Yeah.
So you won't go to any movies. Well, that's good.
I will on the road. That's the only time I go see movies.
Yeah.
Because I'm on the road. I don't have any responsibilities.
Right. Or anything to do
I mean, I should be doing way more cool stuff.
when you're on the road.
Yeah. I usually just go find a spot to go get naked and sweat.
Yeah.
But I should be like doing drugs, going to the movies.
I know.
Prostitution,
Yeah.
whatever. All the fun adult things.
Yeah, I know. But then when you're out there, the massage thing is a good call because you're traveling and you're just like, that would be, I was going to say you should come up with an app that can tell you as a traveling comedian where the spas are, but all I have to do is text you.
Oh, yeah. Just people do text me.
Yeah. And
Oh, Jackie Cation will text me. I'm in Milwaukee. Where should I go?
Right.
All right. I'll tell you. Hold on. I told you, I think last time I was on your podcast that I went to Calgary with a comic and I messaged her the day before, bring a bathing suit. Don't ask me questions. Because Calgary has a lot of Russians, a lot of banyas.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm going to New Hampshire.
Nope. Nothing.
Nothing.
0. No. Maybe some apple picking?
All right. Well, how about we do this? We've got a very talented guest. We should bring them in.
Yeah.
And spend some time with the very talented Alisha Wainwright. Well, thanks for being here. It really is very cool to meet you. This is very cool, and you kind of check so many boxes for us.
Oh,
because,
yeah?
Because you're a great actress. You bake.
I do.
You love food. In a couple different ways, which is kind of in Kira's thing of like the science of food and not only enjoyment of food, and your amazing podcast. So there's,
you.
yeah, so
And
you
she's a
kind of
runner.
fit.
She runs, so that also is your thing.
Yeah, kind of. How much are you running these days?
Well, it's funny, right? Like for me, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes,
Yeah.
last year I did like a 10K, and then years before I did a half marathon. But now I'm getting back into it, and it
Yeah.
took me 30 minutes to do 2.5 miles. And so that's
Oh,
like,
so
you have to start
that's
somewhere.
my pace.
getting back
That's
into
where
it.
that's me.
Yeah?
Okay, good. Yeah, so we connect on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's like
On the
going nice. And so this is advice that I was given that I will take on if you haven't heard it before.
Yeah.
Is go so ridiculously slow for as long as you can, and you build up that endurance so that all of a sudden, once you start trying, you will
Yeah.
actually impress yourself on how fast you really are.
Oh,
So
interesting.
Keep that.
Yeah,
If you want to get back into it.
I saw that there's a guy who has a book out about slow running. And he's like a big, hefty guy. And he's like, just go slow. Who cares? You're not in a competition. You can do all these marathons. You can do it. Just go slow. So I got back into it like earlier this month. And I was on a beach road and I was going pretty slow. And there was two walkers, like an older
Oh,
couple
no.
walking. And I was like, look at these guys. And I took a good half mile to pass them.
Oh, so you're like on pace with them.
Really, I have to read that book because he's got to have some chapter on how to get over the humiliation of going slow.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You feel like the Tin Man when you haven't ran in a while. Haven't
Everything
run.
hurts, and especially here in LA, where I stay in like Silver Lake area, it's super hilly,
Yeah.
and so it's like that last half like mile back to my place.
Yeah.
You're going uphill. Someone walking their toddler is going
Right.
the same pace as you, but it's I try to like get too hard on myself, and more so like when you get home, like, do you feel good? Did you do something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get on
Okay.
with your day.
Yeah, we're good.
Do you ever do like the hipster steps? Like where all the cool kids
What
do
do you
their
mean?
steps?
Oh, like
There's like one in Santa Monica, and I think there's one
In
in
Culver City, like those big stairs.
where everyone comes to work out. They do they do the stairs.
oh, like running
Or
in
like
a
Runyon
stadium.
They
Canyon. or
do
something.
running, but they get a little bit nuts. Like this one chick had 20-pound weights, and as she's going up the stairs, she's also doing these overhead presses. And every time I passed her, I'd get like an elbow in my head. I was like, and then she's doing her legs behind her, so every step is like a butt workout.
Yeah.
So I did something weird weird in this sort of vein. Driving from Sonoma County to LA a couple days ago, I was listening to the Huberman Lab podcast, which always makes me feel like I'm never doing enough to be like my prime self.
Yeah.
And on the drive, it's like, do these workout snacks. So a tiny little workout to make you feel like you did something. You're sitting in the car for hours and hours. So I got out, and in front of all of these cars, I just did jumping jacks. And like, that is a weird social experiment on yourself.
Yeah.
Trying not to make eye contact. So I turned around and I did them at a wall, and you feel stupid. But I will say, once I got in my car, I was like, okay, like there's some energy now. The last little leg of the drive's not so bad. But you do have people who are like, what is she doing?
100%. There was a guy at the beach during my running sessions when I was just sitting in a lounge chair at the beach in a beach chair, and there was a guy kind of doing what you're doing, the little snack. There's kids around making sandcastles, and he's doing like planks and the thing where you lift your leg and you do the things. And yeah, the whole time I was like, get a load of this guy.
I know.
You're
I know.
definitely-
You kind of can't help it, but whatever.
It all depends on what side you're on, like in the moment. Like as you're doing it, you're like, this is a totally normal thing to do.
No, when
if
have
I
you
was
ever-
doing jumping jacks and you saw me, you'd be like, get it together.
There's never, even if I was like the most positive like person on the most positive day that I could have, if I saw someone doing jumping jacks at a rest stop, I would be like, what an asshole.
Right,
Like, I don't
exactly.
know. There's no world in which you can't look at it and judge it a little bit because you're not doing it, and
I
you kind
know.
of wish you could and you can't. So.
Yeah.
Well, if you're on a long flight, I think you should move around, you should stretch, you should do those knee bends, right?
Yeah.
But then there's always that one chick who does a full Pilates session, like in the bathrooms, like down the aisle. And I'm just looking at her, I go, lady, we get it.
Yeah.
Like, we all want our blood to flow better, but we're
Imagine if
going
everybody.
to France, so that's that's also the upside. But
Yeah. Imagine if everybody like took that advice and was
Time.
like, it's time to stretch.
time to stretch, all of us at the
200
same
people
time.
Oh,
stretching.
Jesus. That
And there was
plane's
no
going
one-
down.
Hopefully.
There was no like flight attendant in those last rows near the bathroom.
Yeah.
So her leg is on top of the seat. Come on, flight crotch. We don't need that.
I do have awkward long flight tendencies though. Like, you know, I have this giant inflatable pillow thing that I put in between my seat and the seat in front to kind of create, because I am currently sitting with my legs crossed. This is how I like to sit.
Right.
And when I'm sitting on a seat without that like air gap in between, I can't quite get that position. So I'm that person blowing up in the dark. I wait for the lights to go down. I blow it up in the dark.
Which is
and
even
then
freakier.
Wait, what is it exactly?
I mean,
It's
okay,
dark and
it's
kids
like,
are crying.
It's like, I want to say like 2 feet by like 1.5 feet, black little
Yes,
like
I've seen them.
like and then it kind of fits perfectly in between the base of your seat and the
Yes.
seat in front,
Kids
and it's the
sleep
same
on them.
height. It's
Kids
made for
sleep
kids.
on them, yes.
But you can put your feet up on it, and you can kind of like find like a like sleeping position that's not horrible.
Right.
But there is the humiliation of the blowing it up, of the person next to you taking their book, kind of like, oh God, this person. But
Yeah.
I got a good night's rest on that flight.
I've seen the
Whatever you
guys that
gotta
put
do.
their heads inside the hole. Have you seen those?
No.
What do you mean the
Yeah.
hole?
They blow it up. It's like your thing, but it comes up, and it's like those massage table holes. And they put their heads inside and they sleep.
Oh.
But it's also like you're sitting next to this person now. I'm always a window person.
Yeah.
Now you can't wake up a person with a head in a hole.
No.
That's you know what I mean.
But I would though.
You would.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Because I
I
gotta
think
go
it's
do
your
my
obligation.
Pilates.
Yeah.
Your obligation. If you're on the aisle, or you've got to.
It's a social contract. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta get up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to hold you prisoner.
I also have this thing called a turtle pillow.
Oh Jesus.
That's like literally a neck brace that you wear it so that your head doesn't flop.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, you look insane.
you really.
So you've got a lot going on
You
when you
should-
sit down.
I'm not out like this, but if you look at me, there's a lot happening.
You should definitely put in one of the blindfolds too, just to avoid people's glares.
Yeah.
Not
just-
for the light.
But if this
mental
is how you
blanket.
sit, I will never get in a car with you.
That's
She's
fair.
like, this is how I drive. Cross-legged.
I do put one foot up if it's like long drives. for the
Right.
Stretch. In my own car. I'm not doing it
Yeah,
on an
you're
airplane.
allowed.
Don't get in the car with me. I have an excellent driving record.
I believe you.
Can I
But-
tell you a crazy thing that happened?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
This is a podcast, right?
Yeah.
So up in Sonoma County, it's very friendly. Like you almost feel like you're neighbors with everybody.
Yeah.
And Facebook Marketplace is where I thrive. And I found this like bed frame, and it was perfect, exactly what I wanted. And I messaged the lady. She's like, "Yeah, come on by." And we tried to fit it in my car, and it wouldn't fit. And she was like, "How's your driving record?" I'm like, "Impeccable." She's like, "Well, why don't you just take my car and drive it home?" And I was like, "Are you sure?" She's like, "Yeah, take it. Let me get a picture of
Wow.
your driver's license just to make sure." And
Wow.
she did, and I drove her car, dropped it off,
That's pretty
and drove it back. And she's like, "Great, thanks." Didn't even check it or anything like that. Just took her keys, went back inside.
Amazing.
But she
Like-
had your car as collateral.
I mean, parked down the road,
Yeah.
like
Well,
fully locked up. But
okay.
yeah,
In
sure,
LA,
but
you'd be like, "Oh, she's taking my license and making a passport now."
that,
Right.
or like I come back and my car's like in parts,
Right.
you know, or
Right.
some version, or I'm like drug muling something.
Right. Yeah, there's something
and I
else
don't
in
know.
the car.
Yeah,
Right.
like, that was when I was in the car. I was like, "Oh my god, if I got pulled over and there was something horrible in here,
Everything
like how do
coke
I
in the glove
explain
box.
this?" Facebook Marketplace, she's so nice. Blah, blah.
Yeah, amazing.
That happened to me once. I will say that happened to me in Marquette, Upper Peninsula, Michigan.
Okay.
So I flew in for a gig, and it was one of the worst storms. I think every winter it's the worst storm.
Yeah.
And I get to my hotel. Everything's, of course, closed way earlier than, like, nothing to eat. Nothing's open. My little motel, you know, I had to wake up the woman. Like, she went to bed. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I check in. The next morning, it's still snowing, insane amounts of snow. And I said, "Is there any place to eat?" She's like, "Oh, about a mile down the road. But you don't want to, walk there. Do you have a car?" And I go, "No, I do not have a car." She goes, "Take mine." So I took her car a mile down the road to this little diner, and this is how small this little town is. I pull
They knew her
in.
car.
They knew her car. I walk in, and they go,
Where's
"Why
Marge?"
do you have Sheila's car?" And I go, "Sheila, let me borrow it." They were like, "Are you kidding?" One guy calls Sheila right away. Yeah. And they were like, "Sheila, all right, that's so Sheila. We believe you."
So funny.
It's
So that
great.
one
love
time, that
that.
was very sweet. Yeah.
I'm also glad you did it because
Yes.
I
Yeah.
told a few people that, and they're like, "You're insane to get in some random person's car," but it really felt like a genuine act of kindness.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she was just, I could tell she also really wanted to get rid of this bed thing. She's like, "I'm here to make a deal.
Right.
Like, get this thing off my outside of my garage."
Yeah, just get this
So,
out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Is that where you grew up? Is that why you keep
No, I'm
bringing
from
up?
Florida.
Oh, okay.
But, you know,
Oh,
I
boy.
baked you
boy.
some bread.
Here we
Did you
go.
really?
Yes, they came out this morning.
is this a Garfield little
It's
homage?
it's really me. It's because that's how much hair I have. The 3 lines. I was thinking about that
this
today.
is also, this has great, like, height and...
Yeah, pretty good, right?
Whoa.
This looks like
girthy.
This looks like bakery quality.
Yeah.
reals.
We don't mess around.
He's the real deal.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do we eat it now? Is that
No,
some-
take it home. Kira's kind of off bread right now, so we
I
try not to
am.
bring up bread as a subject
We
too
can
much,
bring it
even on
up.
the Breaking Bread podcast.
I love bread.
I know, but
I love bread. I buy people
I
bread.
love how you have all this bread
Is
behind
this,
you.
isn't that like the Oprah? Like, I love bread.
Yeah.
Listen, can I tell
I
you?
won't eat it.
Yeah.
I went to nuts.com. I know
Yeah.
we're not doing a thing right now, but I want to tell you, and they have gift trays.
Uh-huh.
Even though I'm not going to eat yogurt covered pretzels, which are amazing.
Yeah.
I got some for my mom's nursing home caretakers. You know, those people that like work so hard for $5
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah.
A gift tray.
Oh, that's
So
nice of
I
you.
I don't have to consume it, but I will still participate
Mm-hmm.
I
in
can
the-
You can eat bread, though,
the
right?
loveliness
love
of
And you
bread.
bake?
I do bake, yeah.
Tell me about your baking.
Well, it kind of started as I don't know, I had like an easy bake oven back in the day, and
Nice.
I've always been super interested in baking, but then it became a very therapeutic outlet for I'm stressed at work, I'm stressed in this way. They say you should, when you feel stressed, like give. So I would bake a thing and then just put it out there and give it away, much in the same way you're doing. And it feels very like pleasing to try and make a thing. And also, if you screw it up and you give it as a gift, people still find it endearing, and so you can at least pass it off.
Here's my bad brownies.
Yeah, but you eat. I mean, it tastes good. It might look horrible, but that's like most of the shtick of my baking. But I'm always trying to try something new. So I want like to explore making croissants, or I want to make some weird like krugemon or something that's just out of the realm of normal everyday, and most of those get messed up. But you do pawn them off and people love them. So
I have a hard time with that. With like when you dial in and you get something and you're really good at it, and then I'm like, I should really branch out, and then I branch out for a second and everything falls apart and I go right back to
the basics.
let me get this one that I've kind of mastered for a while.
Well, it's interesting. Like I go back and forth too, right? So there are these things called cannelé. They're these beautiful little like pillows of souffle. I don't know if you call them pastries, but they're kind of crunchy on the outside, and then they have a sort of souffle texture on the inside, and it's like an egg custardy sort of thing. And traditionally in France, they're made with these copper they're very specific shape, and they're very expensive and hard to find. So I got the silicone ones, and you don't get nearly the same thing you could get at a bakery, but I've kind of perfected it, and when I make them, they're so pleasing because you have to eat them that day. So, and it takes 2 or 3 days for the batter to set, and it's a whole thing, and they look great when you give them as a gift. So then I met this baker who has a fantastic bakery in San Francisco, and she gifted me the copper cannelé molds because she happened to be in France on a work trip.
Wow.
So I have them, and I try them, and they don't work. Every single time I've used them, they stick to the copper. They're just as crunchy, but what good does it do if you can't get it out of the mold? So I actually was like, how do I solve it? She's like, I don't know why that keeps happening to you. So it's a thing where I'm like, do I just go back to the silicone ones because it's the pleasure of, having a finished product? But
there is something so elegant though of having that copper thing like that. If you can pull that off, it will ultimately be more satisfying.
Yeah, they're my most prized possession in the kitchen because they're so ridiculously over the top. Like what a funny tool. It's like a garlic press. Like you don't need it, but it's nice to have the tool. It's nice to have these beautiful copper things, but they don't work for me.
The thing that makes me happiest, and this sounds so stupid, but in that same vein, is any time someone gives me a wooden spoon, spatula, any wooden kitchen device, I just get, it's like, I don't need a car. I don't need a new iPad. Just give me a wooden spoon that I don't have in a shape that I don't have. There's something so satisfying about it.
Do you have the spoon that has the hole in the center?
Yeah.
Okay, you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what is that for?
For like, I guess maybe you would have a better answer because I don't have one, but.
Yeah, just when you're stirring and you
Okay.
like a custardy kind of a thing.
Sure.
I was like, well, now I know what to get you for Christmas. But
there's something, those little tool things. They're just very, very sad. What about YouTube? They'll tell you how to copper.
You're right. I don't know why I didn't go to YouTube University for this question.
For like everything in your life. Car jumping jacks, pillows.
I'm trying to, again, now that the union's on strike, I have nothing else to do. I'm like, I wonder if I can learn how to make lotion. So I've been on YouTube University trying to figure out how to make lotion. Not body butters, which are just like basically whipped up oils and creams and things, but a water-based thing.
Yeah.
It's really hard and very scientific, and I'm realizing like I was like, oh, what if I use this super all natural preservative? And it turns out if you mix it with this other thing, you create benzene, which is like a highly toxic chemical.
No.
It's like, oh, cool. So I might be making an all natural thing that's going to give me cancer. So I'm like definitely learning from YouTube how to do it.
Your background, you have a science background. So it was botany?
Yeah.
And you went to school for that? You liked it going into school? Did you find it?
Yeah, So I grew up pretty solidly middle class, and I was like a pretty okay student, but my mom was always kind of pushing me to have, some sort of a STEM interest. And so she found this summer program where you drop your kid off, and over the course of several weeks, every week they give you a new STEM subject matter and you learn something new. And that was my first exposure to things like ecology and botany and marine biology.
Right.
I was so fascinated as a middle schooler. And then fast forward, I wanted to go to school for photography. And my mom was like, well, I won't pay for your college if you do that. And so I was like, well, what about botany? Because I liked that. And maybe I could be a doctor or something.
Right.
I don't know, make her happy that way. And I did it. And I was like, well, I don't want to be a doctor. But I was super intrigued by science, by the scientific method, by creating elegant solutions for challenging problems. And so I went and pursued that degree on my off time. I would go and do internships at different universities, and I just found a deep passion for it.
Wow.
And then once you graduate and you realize you get paid nothing, and it's super bureaucratic, and it's so hard to get money for like the niche sort of interests that I had, it became really challenging to really see an end game for my career. So I enjoyed it while I was in it, but it definitely was more real world than I was ready.
I mean, coming from nothing other than basic bachelor's in comedy, I would think those jobs, I think there would be, like, the world would be craving smart science minds.
I mean, there are a lot. First of all, it's just reassuring to know that there are a lot of smart people out there. I mean, they're not on Twitter.
Okay, fair.
But they're out there and they're doing incredibly fascinating things. And being in the same rooms as them, I quickly realized I don't have this level of dedication to the things that I'm pursuing.
Right.
And also, what I was interested in was almost this gap between like anthropology and botany. So I wanted to figure out how were indigenous people using plants? Like, how can we sort of refashion this sort of sustainable way they were using like textiles and medicines for our everyday capitalist consumption society.
Oh, yeah.
And no one wanted to give me money for that. They were like, that's really cool.
They're like, boo, what do you know about plastics?
Yeah. or cancer, or like one of the many subjects that actually, when I interviewed at a university for a PhD program, and they were not interested in me being a part of the program in what I wanted to study, this sort of ethnobotany thing, but they were like, what about beach erosion? This is a really important thing that needs to be addressed. How can we figure out what to plant, what sort of plants are creating beach erosion or stopping it, or the people and all that stuff? And I was like, this is super cool. I don't want to do that.
Right.
So like, this is an impasse. So I ended up leaving it all together, but I have a lot of friends in the, I guess you can't call that an industry, in that field. And I have such a deep respect. And so it is funny to host a podcast now where I get to kind of honor that respect by just giving them a platform to talk about their really interesting science.
When Science Finds a Way is the podcast. Yeah. How long have you been doing it?
Well, it came my way last year. I got an email from a production company based out of London. They found my senior thesis that I had written in college.
What? People read those?
They weren't reading mine, but somehow they were watching a show I was on, and they looked up me, and they were like, "Oh wow, she used to be a scientist." And they did the digging. They found the article. I ended up getting it published in the Journal of Economic Botany. And yes, my email's still the same. And so they found that email, and they sent me a really beautiful message about what they were trying to do. They were trying to give a platform to people who were on the grounds trying to make real changes in the public health space. And I was like, is this is a joke, right? Like, what a crazy way to be connected. And they're like, if you want, we can go through your agent. Like, we just want to do it the right way. And then fast forward about a year later, we've wrapped up recordings on our first season, and we're about halfway through the release cycle of the first season. And Yeah, it's just
it's pretty cool.
It is super cool,
Yeah.
and I got to go to London and meet not only the producers but the organization that's backing it. It's called Wellcome Trust. It's not really known in the U.S., but they're basically the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation of the UK.
Wow.
They're the third largest. I don't know. I don't know the numbers, but they have a lot of money,
Yeah.
and they take that money and they give it to people to do incredible research. And they just
Yeah.
wanted to showcase what
Man,
they
that's very
what
cool.
they're doing. Yeah.
That's so cool. That's such a refreshing podcast space.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, I feel like I'm a podcast listener. I listen to a lot of like dating and relationship stuff, and then also like true crime and just interesting sort of fact-based science stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's nice because I like what we're doing.
Right.
And I think it fits in the portfolio of what I would listen to if it wasn't
Yeah.
me and it was someone else.
Right. What's one of your favorites so far?
Gosh, well, today's one came out today that talks about ancient DNA. So this incredible researcher based out of Denmark, he found ancient DNA in a tuft of hair that was tucked away somewhere in a like one of those museums, right?
Uh-huh.
And he realized through analyzing the DNA that the DNA came from an ancient community. The indigenous people of the area, like they could trace where they came from. So the remains actually belonged to a community that was present like today. And something that's very different from how you and I think to maybe how other indigenous communities think is that you have to give remains a proper burial or it doesn't work with their
Right.
afterlife process, or it's part of their
Right.
process.
They've
You have
got-
to honor and respect the remains. And for maybe our like Western sensibilities, we're just like, it's whatever, and then
Yeah.
it goes back in a drawer. But to these communities, it's actually incredibly important that they receive these and do
Their ceremony. And,
what just honor their ancestors.
Right.
And previous colonial scientists would come through and just kind of desecrate these remains, and you have to shift the way you think about things like just samples. It's not just a sample. You get like Henrietta Lacks and like the samples that she gave that ended up creating all these downstream positive effects. Basically, we have a COVID vaccine because of this woman's samples, but she wasn't honored, and so that's why her family took the people who took her samples to court, and they won fairly because you have to honor and respect where you're taking these things from. So
we've all seen Poltergeist. You have to honor it. There will be the worst consequence.
You left the bodies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, I think what I'm learning the most about this podcast is you have to shift what you think is right and actually ask people, what do you do? What do you think? What do you need? And that's like the overarching philosophy of it. So this researcher started realizing, if I'm going to pursue this path down ancient DNA, every bit of DNA I discover, I might have to ask for permission from different communities to make sure it's okay to take them and take samples, and then give it back so that they can take the remains and take care of them.
Yeah.
And we also had a tribal representative on that episode as well, and they get on like gangbusters. These guys are like peas in a pod. They love each other so much, and and it made me so happy because I was like, this is what happens when two opposing philosophies on life come together and learn from each other and grow, and you become a better system when you can learn from each other. So that's kind of,
we're gonna have 23 BC and me. From this, where you can connect with your Mayan, your Aztec relatives.
I love that.
My Aztec cousin is your Aztec cousin.
I love that. And also it's like pretty controversial, to be able to say like what I'm doing is wrong, because maybe not other scientists feel the same way or have the same process of connecting with indigenous communities. But I like talking about this stuff because if you're not willing to acknowledge that some people make mistakes and you're willing to curb and change, how are we ever going to progress in some sort of direction?
Yeah.
So you have to engage in the conversation.
Kira,
Tom?
first impressions matter. They really do. There are no two ways around it. What's the first thing that someone notices about you? Don't say boobs.
Oh, forget it.
On men,
On men?
face,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Their
your-
eyes.
Eyes.
Mm.
I have a weird thing on my eye. If you are if you aren't already, it's time to put your best face forward. How do you do that? By adding in a skincare routine. And you know what? It's not hard. You just don't have the right tools until now. Clinically proven to reduce wrinkles, fine lines, and signs of aging, Caldera Lab is the leader in men's skincare and is here to save the day. They sent me a bunch of stuff. They sent me a little box, and it had in it this eye serum, this stuff, what is it called? The clean slate, the base layer, and the good. And this eye serum, which you put, which that's my thing. I always, because I'm exhausted, because I have a family, my eyes are always the thing. I went as, well, I don't know if we'll say it during the podcast, but I went for there's a lot of stuff out there as a dude. Like, a lot of dudes don't think you need anything,
Right.
but if that's for dudes who don't want to look good.
Well, also they forget, like you are humans with the same pores
Right.
that chicks have.
I know. And you're always telling me, like, you should be taking a brush and scrubbing off your dead skin.
Yes.
Skin is important. The clean slate starts and ends your day. This is a face wash. The base layer is your daily moisturizer. And the good is your go-to at night before bed and clinically proven multifunctional serum that helps your skin look tighter and smoother, as well as helps reduce visibility of wrinkles and fine lines. I don't feel like I have a lot of wrinkles, do I?
No, you don't. That's what's weird. Like, what's
Is it?
happening?
I'm made of rubber, and I'm a friend of Caldera Lab. Caldera Lab is made with top-tier ingredients and is a great addition to your daily routine. Get 20% off with our code PAPA at calderalab.com. That's 20% off Caldera Lab by using the code PAPA, P-A-P-A. Jump into skin and first impression royalty with Caldera Lab. Go to the link in the description, calderalab.com/PAPA for more. The products are great. They smell great. They feel great. Give it a try.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. I barely graduated 8th grade. Did you study plants, trees, the science of those? Okay.
Botany.
Yes, botany. So is it true that trees can communicate with other trees?
By
and
the root systems?
Yes. And send them messages like, "Brr, I think a chill is coming." Like,
Yeah.
isn't that nuts though, guys? Why aren't we talking about that trees could be the aliens that we're like constantly searching for? And they're not, they don't look like, the little men with the crazy heads. They are just these aliens that talk underground. Come on.
I mean, okay, I'm going to break apart your question into
All right, next question.
botany is the study of plants.
Right.
So it's a huge umbrella, just
Yes.
like biology is, it's just,
Yes.
it covers a lot of things. I specifically, in my undergrad, I did a lot of like microbiology, not
Okay.
necessarily focused on botany, but then as I graduated, I did an ethnobotany senior thesis. And then when I graduated, I worked for the Smithsonian studying basically big trees. So when you were like trees and plants, I actually studied large trees in tropical climates. And yes,
What are they talking about?
they I don't know the most relevant data on it now, but essentially these root systems also have, like fungi and everything sort of connecting them together. So there is a communication pathway that happens. I don't necessarily know that it's super sophisticated. For example, if there's some sort of pathogen that's coming in and
Right.
then one tree's affected, it might have a system in which another tree might know, but it won't necessarily stop it. I'm not really sure how it works, but I do know that there is a sort of like chemical system that's happening underground that we have no idea about, like you and I, but I'm sure they're incredible, very smart people who know a lot about it.
Isn't that crazy
It
though
is
when you
so
think
When I was
about
in
it?
Africa, they had these trees.
Oh, here we go. When I was in Africa.
The trees would communicate about weather that was coming and alert the birds. So they were talking to the birds.
Come on,
wow.
Yeah.
guys.
That's pretty neat.
And they would literally like close up different parts to protect the birds.
It's super fascinating
Oh
how
my gosh.
plants talk with birds and other pollinators, because there is a symbiotic relationship between them. So they want to
Yeah.
make sure, you know, that the birds stay healthy so that they can take the seeds and move them, you know, so they have
Right.
a personal vendetta as well, these trees.
Right.
Yeah. But they're trying to like coerce the birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, do you like it
manipulation.
sweet? You dirty, dirty bird.
I have a question for you.
No, I'm not smart like she is.
I know, but I know.
It's not.
Stop
Yeah,
it.
it's not
You are,
hidden.
but you are very, you are very smart. But you're also very interested in a lot of alternative medicines and
Yes.
homeopathic cures, and
Yes.
you're a self-proclaimed gypsy.
Yeah,
And
I'm a witch.
Got it. I love
when
the
Alicia was
witchy.
talking about making lotion,
Yes.
I felt I could feel you wanting to ask a question.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
First of all, what's your Etsy page?
I know. I should
Right?
have one.
Gotta
right?
start one. No, I'm all about. I wanted to start making. So I was gonna say, come to my house later today because I promised my 8-year-old we would make soap.
Oh, fun.
She got a soap thing for her birthday, and every day since. She's
What do
like,
you? How
"When
do you
we-"
make soap?
I have
Soapy is
no
very
idea.
sciencey. Are
It's
you
very
talking about hard
sciencey.
soap? Yeah,
I
hard
have
soap.
no idea. And
It's
I'm
sciencey.
calling the mom that gave her this gift and saying, thanks for the kinetic sand, i.e., it's never coming out of my rugs.
Yeah.
And also
really?
the homemade soap.
So
that
they
now
gave you a kit.
I have to sit there and put like goggles on and boil
Yeah,
a
be
thing.
careful because it's probably like lye and stuff in there.
No, there's
Yeah.
like all the crazy stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
So I had promised her that I would look up a more, because I am crunchy, a more homeopathic way to make soap. But there's like so many cool ways.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But I'm into it. I'm all about it.
I'm not a bar soap girl. I'm a like pump
Yeah.
soap girl, and I made my
Pump
body
soap?
wash. So
You
yeah.
did?
Yeah.
Out of what?
So I brewed some lavender and used that as the base. So like lavender water with just some Castile, like Dr. Bronner's mixed in there, and a little
Yep.
bit of olive oil. So it makes it, so it has like a nice slip on it.
Have you ever gotten some Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap in the wrong places?
Yes, I absolutely have. And I don't know why people put that in their showers.
Oh, what happened?
It burns.
it will prolapse your uterus. It really will. Like if
my
you,
How are you washing yourself?
She's
my
very
next
aggressive.
question.
I didn't know this
She's
would get
very
personal.
aggressive.
All right. I wash myself by whatever messages I get from the trees. Okay. The trees tell me wash extra good, and I'm doing it. No, but Dr. Bronner's is no joke.
It's funny
That-
to start off the lavender olive oil. It's like we could be talking about baking right now.
Yeah.
And then we throw a little Castile in it.
But that's how you know it's good. If you can eat it,
Right.
if you can ingest your shampoo, you're okay.
So this is the thing. That's what I thought for most things. But once you start getting into the technical stuff, like
Yeah.
maybe making like conditioner for your hair or like a lotion that you're putting on your body that has water in it, it molds immediately. So you have to put a preservative in it or else it just goes off. And all of
Right.
your hard work and all your alchemy and witchery goes
Right.
out the window. So
Right.
I've just been learning very recently, again, YouTube University, about the proper preservatives that are the healthiest.
Right.
But inherently, preservatives, they basically stop organisms from growing. So there are some, interesting
Ew.
things that some preservatives can do that aren't good.
I have a question. Why, when I went in the airport into the little Kiehl's place, did they sell me a thing of moisturizer this big for $48?
Because they saw your watch. They were
For
like,
you.
here comes a sucker. They were like, look at this guy. guy with the
I'm a
fancy
humble
shoes.
comedian.
Ah, no, I've seen the shoes you wear when you travel. They're nice. They are nice, leather made.
$48.
I know.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. You're
Yeah.
buying the cursive. You're buying that font.
Totally. And
Yeah.
go on her Etsy page and buy her $48, soap and know that it's at least going to a better place than, a corporation.
By
Like, give it to-
Kira's?
No, some other woman that homeschools. No, but here's the real truth.
That's
Look
crazy.
up beef tallow. I know you're gonna
What?
hate me. Just don't let your wife listen to this part. Beef tallow
for soap.
for anything.
Yeah.
Conditioner, cream.
What's tallow?
It's the fat rendering of the beef. But you have to
Okay.
you don't just cook up a steak and then scoop up what's in your cast iron and put it on your body. You have to well, I guess you could. But you have to, put it through a sieve and and then whip it up and then use that thing with the hole in it, that spatula.
What do you use it for?
You can use it for moisturizer.
Is that what you use it for?
I'm not going to answer any more questions without my lawyer present. I demand my lawyer be present. Maybe there's a conditioner in my bathroom that I made on my own,
Yeah.
or maybe not.
Uh-huh.
But it doesn't smell
Allegedly.
like beef or anything
No,
like that.
no. It
Oh,
just
no.
feels like whipped.
Yeah.
It's just like a really rich, whipped, buttery, like how you were saying the body butters.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
I'm
like
starting to
that.
feel less bad about spending $48 at Kiehl's.
Okay. All right, fine.
It's like you want some backyard beef tallow moisturizer. We got you.
It does sound like a moonshine
Yeah.
for cream. I get it.
But
it.
I'm just slowly
Moo.
moving in that direction. Like I have
Yeah.
an awesome garden and I'm growing lemon verbena
Yes, it's
and
my
chamomile and
favorite.
echinacea and lavender and rose. And so I'm on windowsills around our place, it's just filled with jars of oil with different herbs and petals and stuff
Oh,
in there.
nice.
So
You
yeah.
didn't have to say marijuana, but message received. Message received. We get it. We get it. You're growing a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
amazing plants.
Flowers, buds, petals.
This is what happens when there's a SAG strike.
Well, that's
Side
the joke I
hustle.
made on my social media. I was like, "Hi guys, if I made if I made moisturizer, would you guys be into that?" And then the poll was like, "Absolutely." And then how are you dealing with the strike? Not good, right? I'm like, "Yeah, no." It's like,
Right. Is your Netflix show coming back?
yeah.
Your show is not coming back? Raising Dion?
Oh, we're not allowed to talk about that.
Oh, really?
Stuff.
Oh,
On your
right.
Insta.
We can't talk about that
on
at
your
all.
Insta.
No.
Wait,
Right,
okay,
right.
that's
But
fine.
Tell me
Yeah.
about your process in acting. All shows aside, do you still study? Do you still study acting?
I definitely was in an acting class where I would go once a week and do scene study many years ago. And then
Yeah.
what I found through getting busier was that wasn't really possible. But
Right.
there were people that I worked with, and I also had great friends who are very talented and give great notes that I
Right.
would ask for advice on different things. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess when you're actively doing it, when you're in your shows and you're kind of humming along, you are practicing it.
Yeah.
You're doing it. I haven't in a while, and I was like, why be so arrogant to think that you can't get better?
I don't know any.
Like, I feel like just for myself, and just because I'm doing much more stand-up than acting these days, I feel like I should be working that muscle in some regard. If just studying with somebody, just trying to get better at auditioning or something like that.
I absolutely, I feel like Los Angeles is filled with a lot of snake oil salesmen. So you have to be really conscious and do your research on who you're going to give your $400 a month to or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's so many great teachers out there. And also as you start working more in the industry, you have
Yeah.
people in your Rolodex that you can be like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm working on this thing. Do you have 20 minutes to read it with me and tell me what you think?
Right.
And that's kind of what I do more so now. But I did take an acting class. What's funny is as I'm talking about it now, I'm trying to remember, what was it even about? But it was somewhere in Glendale. I did an acting class just a few months ago for a
Oh, yeah?
weekend. And it was really,
Was it fun?
it was helpful.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, just pick up little things, put it in your toolbox. And I think if you get hard
Yeah.
and fast for me on any one thing, it becomes kind of challenging.
Yeah.
I know I'm new to the podcast, but I want to pitch something.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Okay. So, we're going to have like fancy schmancy actors as guests.
Let me be, well,
Not yet.
this is kind of the pinnacle right
Fanciest?
now.
This is the fanciest?
This is-
Okay.
It's the best you guys can do. I'm
Well,
sorry.
we're gonna maybe
We're a
you can
humble
get the
little
word out,
podcast.
and then we have a segment where we go. This is the part of the podcast where we have you do a cold read.
Oh my God.
Yes, come on.
People are going to
And then-
love coming on.
Of the same thing, though. It has to be of the same thing so you can see how different people would read it.
Right.
Right, and so like everyone has to do like that sad speech from Steel Magnolias or something. But, like,
Can I take your idea and twist it a little bit?
absolutely, yes, and
Yes, and?
yeah.
We have that Steel Magnolia monologue, and every guest comes in and watches you try again.
And they give their advice. I think that's
give
great.
their
You could take
advice.
your own
I don't
acting
mind.
school.
I don't
Yeah.
mind. But it's so interesting because you see people like yourself and they make it look so natural
Yeah.
and real. But there's such a crazy, insane process, like the audition process or the acting class process. It doesn't feel the same as when you're on set.
Yes.
And I think it would just be cool to kind of be like, okay, we're going to throw you a cold read right now. I'm just going to be like, or
Yeah.
I guess you would be the cold reader and give me.
No, I'm going to put it back on you again. You're
Okay.
the cold reader.
I'm the cold reader.
Yeah, because
And they're
getting
showing me
guests
how
on
it's
a
done.
podcast, with your podcast, getting guests is the hardest part.
Yeah.
And to say then we're also going to humiliate you with a cold read is not great to get people in the door.
Some people
Come on.
are team like they're in it for the fun of it, but I
Yeah.
know a lot of actors who get very tense. It's interesting. So
Yeah.
I directed a short film a few weeks ago, and I've never directed anything before.
Wow.
And it was really interesting to be on the other side of working with actors
Yeah.
because there's a level coming from my journey of being a scientist and being all logic and analytical and like this is real work, and then becoming an actor, I always had a huge judgment on like I don't do anything.
Yeah.
Somehow I've conned people into this job that I have in which I get to perform and people give me money, and I think that's crazy. And
As comics, we get it.
yeah, you're
we
just
get
like
it.
I make you laugh and I get a this is
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
And I think I always had a judgment on like you are not like any of the other, even in our industry, directors, writers, you kind of are the bottom. And watching actors work and to see how hard it is to take something that was in someone else's brain, put it in your own body, and then communicate it in a way that's actually natural and believable and earnest and makes you feel something. That's actually really hard.
Really hard.
And I can have it was strange. I almost had more of an appreciation for what I do looking at it from another
interesting
point of view. So, I mean, I still will probably cycle back into feeling like I
Useless.
don't know. Yeah, useless and the bottom of the barrel, but it's
Yeah.
also it is hard and it is challenging, and also seeing people experience the challenge gave me a lot of anxiety because it's like, oh, I don't want you to be stressed. I actually want you to be relaxed,
Yeah.
but it's hard.
What was the thing that attracted you to it in the first place?
Acting?
Yeah.
Well, when I probably insecurity and wanting to feel like there were eyes on me. I think that's what most actors get involved.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, right?
Can you expand?
My mom was stopped in a grocery store and someone was like, oh, you should put your kid in something. And I had some pictures taken and I did a commercial, and it started to become very challenging for my mom to drop me at auditions. So she was like, we're not doing that anymore. And I ended up doing karate instead or something. And
Right.
I always had the general understanding of what it was and a curiosity, but almost sort of the encouragement of like, but science.
Right.
And in the back of my head, it was always there. I took an acting for non-majors class in college, and the teacher was like, good thing you're a scientist because you're terrible. And even still, once I left science and was pivoting to wine, and I thought I wanted to be a winemaker and then a sommelier, I realized, why not give it a chance? Because the worst case, you live in California, none of your friends live here. You can fail and no one knows you here, so it actually doesn't really matter. And then it just became such a deep, like, meaningful way of self-expression. And I'm trapped with a lot of feelings, and I like being able to share things in that way and make people feel something. And
Right.
and it's also like pain. Like it's like hard to act and then act in front of people and you feel humiliated, but it's also in like makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like it's way more interesting to me than science, you know.
See? And then we give her the Jack Nicholson speech, "You can't handle the truth," in this moment, and she does a cold reading. I'm telling you, you got to be on board with this idea.
It's pretty good, but we would, we probably have everyone on once.
Yeah. But how did you guys get into
Yeah.
comedy then?
Mine was court ordered.
Oh wow! I want to meet that judge. They sound like a real hoot.
Yeah, they were like, "Get yourself to Albuquerque and find some drunk people."
Well, you were a ham at a young age.
So I tell people that have kids, listen to your children, because I did tell my parents when I was 5 that I want to be. I didn't know comedian, but I said I want to be whatever Mork is from Mork and Mindy. And my dad said, "You be quiet." And then as immigrants, they were like, "Stop talking. We don't need to listen to you." And so I said, "Whatever he is." And then my brother said he's a comedian. And I go, "Whatever." I didn't even know what that word was. I was 5. But I go, "That's," so I knew then. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Same for you.
Little. Yeah. I was always funny. And then 7th grade, I heard that comedian was a job.
Oh,
I
wow.
connected adults telling jokes on albums. I was like, oh, wait a minute. You could be funny forever and get paid for it. Like, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
And then I just got kind of focused on it.
That's
in like
really
7th
cool.
grade. Yeah.
7th grade for me too. I bought
Oh, yeah?
tickets for Care Bears, the movie.
Uh-huh. Oh, sure.
So I bought tickets for that G movie, and then Rachel Dan and I made a left and went into Eddie Murphy's movie, rated R.
Nice.
Trading Places.
Yeah. Coming to America.
Beverly Hills Cop.
Raw.
Oh, Raw.
Yeah, no, his
his
stand-up
stand-up
special.
special.
His stand-up
Oh.
special.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
Care Bears.
I bought tickets.
Raw.
Rachel Dan, hey Rachel, if you're listening, we bought tickets.
Yeah.
And we were like, 2 for Care Bears, please. And by the way, we cut school that day.
Wow,
We
this
cut
is
school.
layered.
Yeah. We cut
Bad.
school. We left it at like lunch. And she's like, "I support your dream to be a comic. I will cut school with you." And I had never done that before, by the way.
Right.
I'd never snuck into a movie. I'd
Yeah.
never bought a ticket and gone to a different movie or seen a double head, never. My first time.
That's great.
And then Eddie Murphy, and then just watching him like, this is incredible.
I have a
Yeah.
question. So you knew you wanted to be a comedian, and your
Yes.
friends knew.
Oh, my friends encouraged me. I used to sneak into comedy clubs. That's why I kept asking about Sonoma. I grew up in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
I would sneak into comedy clubs that I knew had like a loose back door. Like the old Cobb's when it was on Columbus and it ran into the cannery had like a weird back door. And it was like, oh, this weird, like, jink, 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 right? And so I would sneak in and just kind of like walk around the corner and pretend like I was, are these the bathrooms?
Yeah.
And I was only 14, but it was the 80s, so I looked 28. I had big 80s hair and like crazy makeup and just Madonna like shirts and then I would just stand in the back. And if people were like, "Do you?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'm just," and then I would just keep moving.
right.
Wow.
Or just stand there or just sneak out. Like I
Yeah,
would just.
everyone's busy.
Everyone's busy. Nobody in
Yeah,
comedy
no one
clubs
cared.
Not
Do
in
you
the 80s.
remember a favorite during that time that you would?
Rich Scheidner?
Rich Schneider.
Scheidner.
Scheidner. Yeah.
Rich
yeah.
Scheidner, who I became friends with.
Yeah.
I
very
love that.
funny.
He's great.
Just a force.
And he was sober. Because I told him what year I saw him. And he goes, I was finally sober then.
Oh, really?
So I saw sober Rich Scheidner. I can't even
Right.
imagine what drunk Rich Scheidner must have been like. He
Yeah.
must have been amazing. But he was great. I would see Provenza. I would see
Yeah.
Mario Joyner. I would,
right. Right.
just
Amazing.
all the people that I'm now pals with.
Yeah.
That's so great that you had a community of people who supported you. I feel like, but maybe your parents were still like wary of your.
My parents are
To this
still
day.
wary.
To
Yeah,
this
yeah,
day.
really. They're not on board with this
It's
podcast.
so funny. My
even.
mom's fully on board now. She's like, "Oh, it's great because you're
successful.
on-" Yeah.
You're on shows.
Yeah, like, oh, this worked out. This is
Yeah.
great.
I think once you become successful at anything, it's like, hey, Mom, I bought you a house with my drug dealer money. I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you.
You just don't want to worry. Yeah, it just means that they're worrying less.
My tinctures.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Hey, your Etsy might blow up.
Do you feel like you've built that community now, though?
Well, yeah, I think, working and also like acting. When I was on the picket line today, I actually ran into a couple of friends of mine from the Bay Area acting class that I took when I first dipped my toe into acting, and it's so incredible. One of the gents is no longer an actor, but he's a writer now, and so he was picketing for the WGA. And we met maybe like 11 years ago, and it's just wild to kind of see his success and my success, and the fact that we're picketing in front of Disney, and kind of where the industry is right now. But I have a really healthy, aware group of actors and writers and creative people who are just hungry to make things, and
that's great.
Yeah, and it's like pretty positive for the most part.
Yeah.
So. When
you said before that you're afflicted with feelings, or that you have, there is, when you are in the arts, it is because you're sensitive, and you do have the burden of feelings and exploration and insecurity and all of that stuff, and community is a big part of it to kind of ground you, but the community is also filled with people that have the same afflictions. Yeah. Do you think that your science mind, your love of baking, those things kind of offset the artistic sensitivity, or does it give you, or is that?
I think they've always kind of been there in my mind. I think I've been told, oh, you're so sensitive for so much of my life that it's almost like I used the science and analytical part to harden myself up a little bit. But underneath that crust is a nice little gooey center of feelings. And so I feel like, if anything, the science was always trying to help me like rationalize my way through everything. And sometimes that has a really positive outcome, and sometimes you rationalize things that you should just feel.
Right.
So if anything, acting kind of helps me get back to the reality of being a present person who has feelings and wants to collaborate. So I like kind of oscillating back and forth.
It's sounds like a healthy mix.
I mean, sometimes. Sure, no one's perfect. And sometimes I got big feelings.
In my car.
I'm more akin to a shower cry if we're going to have a random cry.
Ooh, a shower cry is
all
great.
the tears. It feels like just all tears. You know?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. And you lean against the wall.
Totally.
Where do you cry?
A vestibule?
A vestibule?
Tell
me more.
I once cried in a vestibule, and I looked up.
In New York,
and it was no, it was Montana.
I mean, it depends where you are in Montana, but maybe I'd cry too.
There are a lot of places to cry in Montana.
But a bad hotel.
I looked up, and the business had a security camera. They probably caught the whole.
You're on local access.
The whole breakdown. Yeah, it was a while ago, but yes, it did happen.
A new reality show called Visiting LA Girls.
Vestibule tears.
Oh man, where do you cry?
Hotels.
Yeah.
I don't cry that. Since I had kids, I cry easier. Like anything. I have 2 daughters, so anything on TV with any like bad commercial, anything saying goodbye to children or a father and a daughter, it's coming. But if I really have to cry, like if something big, who knows what or why, usually in a hotel by myself, just to like, I can let it out.
Cleanse the palate.
I still don't like crying in front of my wife. She enjoys it too much.
I was gonna say, I'm sure she loves it.
She loves it.
It's connection. Look, you're a human.
She loves it. And whatever I was crying about, she'll like feed it to see if she can get me to do it again.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah,
if my husband cries, I'm like, holy shit.
No, I know.
We have to batten down. Like
like something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Our leader's losing it.
It's very unsettling for me.
Yeah.
I want it to stop immediately.
Oh, no.
No, my wife, I think, clocks it as, oh, you're a human.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, like his grandfather died. Get it? Of course. That was fine.
Get over it.
I wasn't going to be like, get your shit together.
I I get it.
I get it. Okay.
But we're good.
What's for dinner?
I mean, it was late 90s.
I'm not cooking, so.
I'm just saying, like, he cried right before our wedding. And I think it was just stress. And I was like, oh, God, you better shut that down right now.
I will not come down this aisle if the sissy man is waiting for me at the other end.
But you know what? My kids in plays.
Uh-huh.
God, oh my
That gets you,
God,
or him?
yes. No, me.
You,
I'm sure
yeah.
he actually gets sniffly,
Yeah.
like at movies. He's actually a very, like, it's a great balance.
Uh-huh.
He will knock the hell out of someone playing hockey
Yeah.
and then go, I have to get a spice at Williams-Sonoma.
Yeah.
Like, he is really balanced in
I
that way,
love
which
that.
I love.
Yes.
He will cry at a movie and he'll even be like, oh God, I got so misty at,
Uh-huh.
Good.
you know, whatever.
Yeah.
That's healthy.
Stealing magnolias.
Yeah.
But
But for you?
but my kids, like, on stage doing their little
Mm-hmm.
Alice in Wonderland, I'm like, I'm trying to just
Yeah.
hold it together. You know, I pretend like allergies, and I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't take it when kids sing.
Uh-huh.
It's too much for me.
When kids sing.
It's overwhelming.
When you're doing your monologues
Yes.
and you're getting critiqued by future guests on what you do,
Which Tom
Yeah.
is going to
That's-
green light. Thank you.
that's something I learned and picked up is that if you ever cry, maybe on camera or on stage, it should never feel like you want to. It should always feel
Right.
like it's the last thing you want to do.
Right.
Because that's what real people do.
Teach me
when
right now.
you just said you fought
Yeah.
crying because
Okay.
that's a real human
so that's what I should do in
behavior.
in
Right.
auditions.
You're
Yes.
trying to fight it.
So even if
Okay.
it's a comedy and you're not supposed to laugh, you should fight it and they'll feel it.
Right. This is good.
Okay,
Don't
this is
take
me
this-
fighting it right now. Does this look good?
This is good.
Yeah. Yes, just
that
I
good?
would
Was
say
that
I would
good?
say
Wow.
more, go
Why
further.
don't I book more? Why don't I book?
No comment.
Honestly, I'm terrible in auditions. The only things I've ever booked
Yeah.
is when I go in and I just start cracking jokes. I just start
Yeah.
doing stand up in a subtle way. You never want to make it look like, well, how's it going, guys? Oh, you guys are drinking? Like, you don't do that. I just start doing my set
Really?
casually.
And then they just end up
Yeah.
liking
Making
you.
and then they're like, all right, we'll bring her back for a callback so she can really do the actual lines.
Right.
But I
right.
never book things just going in going, hi, my name's Kira, represented by Shapiro, Weinstein, Rosenblatt, and all the Jews. And then here's my Jew profile. Is this good? You guys want this on your camera? Probably not. And then I do shitty lines where I'm not fighting back the tears, where I just start crying because
Yeah.
you want to work so badly. And then, and I never.
Yeah.
I go in and I just start doing jokes.
That's really smart. I think knowing yourself is probably
That's
the best tool
probably
you could ever have.
it.
Yeah.
And I will say, not to bring it back to the strike, but
Yeah.
leading up to the strike, I sat in on a couple of workers and wages meetings where they kind of have these small groups where you can air your grievances and things. And I sat in on a lot of self-tape
Yeah.
W&Ws, they call them. And so many people were so fed up of how many auditions they were having to do
Yeah.
because nothing's in person anymore. So you're doing everything at home. If you have a family, you have to work around your family schedule, find a quiet place and all
Yeah.
these things. And it's such a freaking pain in the ass. I would love to get back to this world in which
know.
you give the profiles and you talk to a
Yeah.
human being. But now it's like in this vacuum of my living room that it's
Yeah.
just kind of a nightmare. And part of acting is like communicating and connection
Yeah.
and
Right.
feeling it. And like
Yes.
instead I'm like reading with my boyfriend being
Yeah.
like, can you read that better? Because he's not an actor. So
Right.
it's like really
Yeah.
challenging.
It is
So-
really challenging.
I abhor them. I've had to
And-
stop on vacation to go do a self-tape.
Yeah, it's so.
What a disappointment. It's almost, what do they say? Book a trip, book a job or something
Yeah,
like that.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and then you probably from your did you cast that film when you did that film? Yeah. You have an idea of who you want, and then everyone on tape it's kind of the backup if things go wrong and you don't get even when you're setting up your camera and you're annoying your family and getting your boyfriend to read that there's a good chance no one's even going to look at it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
most
they're looking
impressive.
at yours, not ours.
No,
But
not-
I
they're
mean,
not looking at ours.
so something I think that's really fascinating is no matter where you are,
Yeah.
it's still somewhere at the bottom.
Right.
Like there's always someone bigger and better and more interesting, and that's like almost like a game. You
Yeah.
never are made to feel special or interesting or whatever.
No.
And yeah, I've definitely, had conversations with friends who are directors who are like, I have so many tapes to go through.
Yeah.
I can't watch them all the way.
Right,
I'm
right.
only really watching 10, 15, 20 seconds of it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dang, someone put in their whole afternoon, they got a babysitter.
I know.
They have this unpaid person who's reading with them.
Yeah.
And gets nothing out of it if you book the job,
Yeah.
other than a thanks for doing that.
I always feel like there should be a first round of, okay, put yourself on tape and just say hello. Hey, this is me. Hey, I'm here for the role. And because they know not what we're looking for,
Totally.
some of the type, right? There's all that. And you're sitting there with all these pages and going through. Just first round, this is me.
Yeah.
And then they call you and say, okay, read.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
It's incredible. I think, I have done so many self-tapes for things that I've read the breakdown and I'm like, I am not this person. I
Right.
don't think I should read for this. And it's like, no, but they want you to. And then I don't end up working those jobs and
Yeah.
I can't help but look at who did and like, oh, that is what they wanted. Why did we go through this whole process? And
Yeah.
pre-pandemic when self-tapes weren't the norm,
yeah.
I probably wouldn't have read for those things, which mean I would audition less, but
Mm-hmm.
it would mean that what I read for was probably way more up my alley
Yeah,
that I'm more
exactly.
appropriate for.
Yeah, you
so.
know what you're good at.
But it's weird. It's like my, the union's so big and everyone's striking for, AI and pay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there are all these little nuancy things that
Yeah.
maybe don't get so much media attention that it's
I
like,
know.
no, but there's weird unpaid work that we do that should be
Yeah.
managed in a better way.
100%. It's funny because when it all was coming down, I didn't know self-tape was a part of the grievance. And when I heard other actors, I was like, oh, I'm not alone.
Yes, it's like
I
the
thought it was
secret
just
because
me.
you're in your vacuum,
Right.
doing it wherever you in your hotel rooms
Yeah.
after a cry. You have to go and put yourself on tape. It's just so, it's stressful and it's
Yeah.
weird. And there was a great just before Christmas, my girlfriend's getting married and she's having a big bachelorette party in upstate New York. So I just flew into New York. Everyone's on vacation.
Right.
Everyone is on vacation. No one is working. So I didn't
Yeah.
even bring my self-tape stuff.
Yeah.
And I get to her apartment and I get a call. It's like, hey, you're meeting with X, Y, and Z people for a job tomorrow. Can you do it? And I'm like, of course I can do it. But now I have to rearrange my entire trip to meet them late up north and all this stuff. And you do all the things and then crickets for the entire holiday season to only find out that I didn't get it once the New Year started. And I just was thinking like, what a nightmare.
I know.
What a nightmare process. It's just, you love
Yeah.
these beautiful opportunities to be able to showcase. And I'm so grateful for them. But
Sure.
I think there's also a better way
There's gotta be.
we can
gotta
do
be.
it.
Okay,
I
I'm
don't
going to
know.
pitch it.
Okay.
Oh, let's
Okay.
hear
Oh
it.
no.
Casting Zoom. So it's still, you can still be,
Well, they do
You know,
that.
They do that. They
Okay,
do that, but
but-
only on the maybe like a second call or like.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying,
like
the
that.
first call. The first one. And so it's the casting director, and she just has everybody in the waiting room, and she just lets the next person in the thing. And you just do, it's kind of like what you just said. You don't have to do like 3 pages in front of her, right? But she just goes, hey, how's it going? Hey, how are you? I get to still crack a joke, right? And
Yeah.
then they get
and they
to
get
still
to
see
see
your
that you weren't in any
personality.
accidents since the last role you had.
Right. And they can have like a body shot, whatever,
Yeah.
separately. Okay. So they know that you have legs if that's important.
Yeah.
It might not be.
Yeah.
And then great. And then that's it. And then you're gone. And then there's a next person.
I think that's a great idea. And something that's been happening a little bit more that I hope gets encouraged is casting will give their phone number and they're like, if you have any questions about the tape that we just sent, we're available to talk through it. So that's happened to me
That's
a couple
adorable.
times. And so it's not the same like meet and greet in that formal way, but I've definitely picked up the phone and been like, these are my ideas, and she'll be like, that's right, that's maybe you should start
Yeah.
thinking about it in a different way. And
That's good.
that's a connection
Yeah,
with a person. It's like
exactly.
I crave the interactions. And I think COVID robbed us of that. And now that they realize like, oh, it's a lot cheaper if we don't have to outsource
And I don't have
stuff.
to schedule
I don't
it
have to
as the
schedule it.
casting person.
I can read 10 times as many people and still hire who you wanted to hire anyway. So it's this strange.
But you know what? I'm good friends with a really good casting director, and she does it the right way. Like she is all about that. And I guarantee you, like the more successful ones are doing a little bit something in the person to person, slow it down. This is the right way to do it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like it's competitive in so many different areas of what I mean. I don't know much about comedy, but I can only imagine like there's competition for a slot at a certain venue. And these casting directors, you know, if they're not doing the big budget films, they're fighting for these other opportunities. And if someone's willing to do it for cheaper or they're willing to read more people, they seem more attractive. So I don't know.
No,
I'll get off my soapbox, but I just feel like
you're right.
There's a better way to do some of this stuff. And people are, I also want to say people are like, oh, actors, shut the fuck up. Like you guys don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
You guys are so whatever, but there's so many of us
many
that are not the A-list people. We're just people who want like a little more dignity about the way we source our jobs.
What was amazing to me when I first started working was realizing, and this is the way the world thinks of actors. You see somebody in a movie and you think, oh, their life is made. And then you get into this and you realize, oh no, that was a job they had in 1989. And we all love it and love that thing. And we have not seen them do a lot. No. They're actually poor. Actually poor.
Also, this generation, if you've seen and loved something within the last 5 years that was on a streamer, there is a very good chance that that person that you know and love sees $0.
That's right.
From that opportunity. And not only that, they're paid a fraction of what you think. If you go online and you type in your name and net worth, whatever that number is, divide it by 10, and maybe that's close to what's in the bank account. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, it's just not reality. But I also can understand the other side of like, this seems like an aspirational lifestyle, and look at what you're doing on social media. It seems like very whatever. And that's also a fault of the front-facing person. They're trying to live a certain persona, but then now actors are trying to break that by being like, no, it's actually not like what I've been putting on social media. It's actually really hard, and I'm living paycheck to paycheck, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But the facade is...
I'm doing jumping jacks in front of a wall. You know, it's not easy. It is not easy.
All right, before we let you go, because this is I hope you enjoy the bread. And make sure.
I know I will. I'm going to go in my car. I'm going to
just eat it and
She
cry.
has rosemary in her car. She'll sprinkle some rosemary butter.
I don't have rosemary, but I have my lavender hydrosol that I'll spray on myself. Feel my positive lavender energy, and I will break bread in my car and shed a tear for how lovely today was.
Mission accomplished. What is the next thing you think you'll bake?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I've been tinkering with some sourdough starter.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking about trying again to make a sourdough croissant, which I just don't think is a real reality. But also sourdough pizza is a tasty one, so I'll probably do that.
That's good.
And again, I know it's not technically baking, but there is a lotion that may or may not be toxic in my future that needs to be cooked on the stove. So I feel like that's baking.
And then you're coming over to make soap at my house later.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, this was so great. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. This is a real delight.
Yeah.
And, it's also fun to do a science podcast and then end up talking to two really funny people.
Who know nothing about science.
Yeah. Well, I feel like most of the time I don't know anything about science either.
No,
so.
those are my favorite podcasts. Hearing really smart people talk about stuff, and you try and keep up. It's kind of over your head, but it gives you just like a scope of what's happening, what people are doing. Those are my favorites.
I also think when science finds a way, what's cool about it is it's an applied science. So it's not the math and all the analytical papers and stuff. It's like, this is what happens once you take all the science and do stuff with it.
Yeah.
So it feels a little bit more
real
lived.
life. Yeah, exactly.
Real life, exactly.
Well, thank you so much. This was great. Got it, Joey.
You know that scene where Robin Williams goes to Harvey Feinstein in Mrs. Doubtfire, and he says, "Make me into a woman."
Yeah.
And Harvey goes, "Oh, finally," right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel when my husband's like, "Can I use some of your facial cleanser?" I go, "Oh, honey, you're ready."
I know. I had to call my daughter, and I was like in a hotel, and I didn't have anything in my toiletry bag. And I was like, "Can I use body lotion on my face?" She was like, "Do not." All right, there you have it. How great was Alisha?
So great.
Right?
She is so cute. I can't stand it.
I know. It was hard talking to her about getting roles in things because she's at such an advantage because she just is this bright,
Yeah.
beautiful, youthful thing.
I'm not even casting anything. And when she walked in, I was like, "Oh, you got it. You got the part.
Yeah.
Whatever you want."
Right, exactly. She was great and just loves to bake, which is more impressive than all of her acting work.
I know.
Yeah. I'm going to wear you down slowly during the podcast. There's going to come.
I am baking.
Are you?
Of course, I bake for my kids.
You did?
I made a banana bread.
With what in it?
Banana extract.
And
The other things.
flour?
Yes.
Real flour?
Coconut.
Yeah. Okay. Alicia's podcast is When Science Fades Away. Go check it out. Also check out Raising Dion and Shadow Hunters, both a series that we can't really promote that, right? Because of the strike.
Yeah, we need to strike that
Yeah.
from the podcast.
Strike that, Joey. When Science Fades Away is her podcast. Go check it out. Anything you want to plug?
Your face looks great.
Beautiful. Go to tompapa.com, look up all of the tour dates, the book. We're all in this together, so make some room. And we've got big shows coming up in Las Vegas. Kira's going to be on the show with me.
I'll be putting it on my Instagram, Kira Comedy.
Beautiful. That will be September 2nd, Labor Day weekend. Tons of fun. And we've got shows coming up all through the fall. We're also doing San Francisco together.
Yeah, we're doing like
Salt Lake City together.
4 or 5 dates.
Are we doing Tacoma? Are you doing that one?
I think so. I don't know.
A whole bunch. Go to tompapa.com. You'll find all that stuff. You guys are the best. We'll see you next time.